Is a really important video about a stabbing that took place in Tallaght in Kilnamanagh this evening at 6 p.m. that I took care of the victim, and I think it is really, really important that everybody knows the truth of what happened. So it was at the roundabout at Parkhill Heights in Kilnamanagh, where you go through the gap to get out to the Lewis there over at Kingswood. And I was driving over to my mother-in-law, and I saw maybe 30 teenage young fellas at the roundabout, 3 or 4 cars parked up, maybe 5 or 6 adults and one particular one, all shouting. And then I saw this man standing there, completely dripping in blood from his head right down to his toes. His entire body was covered in blood, and he was pouring blood out of his head. So I pulled over my car and I got out. And I said to the woman who was shouting at everybody, what the fuck's going on? And she says, he's after been assaulted, he's after been attacked, pointing at the man. So at that point, I just told everybody to get away. And I said to the man, he said, please help me, please save me. So I brought him over to where my car was parked, which was about 10 foot away from where I had found him. And I just told him, come on over here, I'm going to help you, we're going to phone you an ambulance, I'm going to get the police, blah, 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 blah. So the young fellas, the teenagers, all kind of 30 of them, kind of dispersed off into Kilnamanagh Green there. There was 2 other fellas, they were in their 20s, they had a car, they pulled over, kind of blocking them, and they were helping me. So eventually called the ambulance, called the police. There was people from Kilnamanagh, from the area, adults and teenagers, grown-ass adults, same age as myself, 40 years of age, coming over shouting that the man was a paedophile, that he had his trousers down, that he was wanking on the roundabout, that he was taking his clothes off over at the playground in Kilnamanagh. Now this was miles away from the playground in Kilnamanagh. And that was why what had happened to him, okay? So I had been sitting with this man for about 10-15 minutes. And I knew that that man had not done that. And you can say, how the fuck did you know that? Maybe he did, maybe he did. I knew straight away that that man had not done that. But I later went on to find out that he in fact had not done that. And what is really going on where we live at 6 o'clock in broad daylight in our areas. There is a gang that is going around, and they're children. They're fucking children. They're 15, 16 years of age. He was able to tell me about 10 of them attacked him. Between the police, myself and the ambulance, we concluded that they obviously had some sort of blade between their knuckles, because they completely gashed his whole forehead open, and then they gashed him over here as well. 4 Indian men and another man have been facially stabbed by this gang of teenagers in the last 4 days in Tallaght. Now, how many of you knew that? How many of you heard about that on the news? So your teenagers from your area are going around stabbing innocent men in the face. This particular man, and I'm not going to use his name, and I'm not going to use the video. I'm sure if you have a teenager, go and ask them. The videos are all over Snapchat. Was walking to his temple to pray. That's what he was doing. He was just walking down the fucking road is what he was doing. And he was attacked from behind by these, I don't know what you'd call them. I love animals, so I wouldn't call them animals. By these absolute scumbags. They punched him in the head with what I can only assume was a blade between their knuckles. He went down to the ground. He's badly injured, completely covered in blood. I'm going to guess he's got massive head injuries because the blood did not stop pouring from his nose the whole hour that I sat with him waiting for an ambulance. An hour. I gave him a blanket out of my car. I gave him a pair of cycling shorts I had in the boot to put some compression on the wound. When the police came, I got gloves. And I sat with him and I told him the whole time that he was going to be okay. And I was so sorry that this had happened to him. They stripped him of his clothes. They took his trousers off him. They took his underwear off him. They took his shoes. They took his phone. They took his bank cards. They took everything. And they left the man literally for fucking dead, to be perfectly honest with you. As much as he was standing, they very, very easily could have killed him with what they'd done to him. The man gave me his name, his phone number, his address. He told me about it because there was no Irish person who was capable of doing what he does. He went to one of the most prestigious colleges in India and has one of the highest qualifications in his field. He has a little 11-month-old baby at home and a wife. He was so extremely polite to me the whole time. All he could say was thank you, thank you. He had given me his address and told me he stayed with a friend. He had come to stay with a friend here. And I went to that address and I rang the doorbell of the apartment and nobody answered. And then with that, this little girl came out of the underground car park and was going into the apartments. And I said to her, do you know number such and such? And she said, yeah, that's where I live. And I went, do you have a friend who stays with you called such and such? And she said, yeah, that's my dad's friend. And I said, who's at home? And she said, my mom, my dad, and her sibling. And she brought me up to her apartment. And I had to break this horrific news to these. Really, I can't even begin to describe the nicest family you could possibly meet. They were just horrified. She's a nurse in Crumlin Hospital. The man frantically ran around, getting clothes for his friend, a towel for his friend, food. They thought he was asleep in their spare bedroom. And she sat and she cried at me and told me what an amazingly kind and gentle man he is. I told her what they said and why they had done that to him, and she said there was no way possible. She said, I know this man 20 years. She said he is the most gentlest soul ever. She said, I warned him. She said, I told him it's not safe here. Do you hear that? It's not safe here. It's not safe here where we live, in our community, at 6 o'clock in broad fucking daylight on a Saturday. It's not safe here. It is not safe here. There are teenagers going around stabbing people in the face. Innocent people. The guards aren't doing anything about it. They can't catch them. They don't know who they are. They're not afraid of it. Our own people, our own community, our own friends and neighbours and people you have a drink with down the pub are believing these vicious, disgusting rumours that this gang spreads to justify their behaviours, that this poor innocent man had done some sort of untrue paedophile action, that he hadn't, that this is what the gang does. They spread this rumour to allow the people of the community to justify their actions. And that's the truth.